Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the best football rookie cards of 1992. When I put together this series of looking at rookie cards for the year of 1992, I really expected to have a larger array of designs across all the sports. I was shocked at the fact that only football had the room for two different videos, and yet even at that, when I looked at football, I found at another level I expected better card designs than what I was encountering. So it was really it was almost kind of fascinating that I came into it with this very lofty goal or very lofty expectation, and then found that everything was so much lower than I had been planning for. So it's it's kind of weird. And that doesn't mean that here with this best of list that there are any card designs that are bad. It's just that the middle ground, the bar for good design versus bad design is lower than I anticipated. And to such an extent that I have an honorable mention here of a design that I don't really think entirely fits on this list, and so I'm not including it as an actual entry, and yet it actually kind of does, and that's Upper Deck Gold. The reason is Upper Deck Gold is an insert set, and yet it's also not. It is a standalone card set. It's both at the same time. The way that they approached it was in a box of 1992 Upper Deck Football Series 1. There would be one pack that had the cards from this gold set in it. So these cards were not inserted into regular set packs. They were a standalone pack, and if you knew what the pack was, because the packs were not differentiated in any other way, it was totally random. So if you knew what the pack was, you could open a bunch of boxes, pull all those packs out, and treat them like a whole nother set with their own packs. They did have their own inserts, in fact, in those packs. So they are kind of their own set, but it's only 50 cards, and it was random packs in the main set. It's kind of like the very first hot packs ever created. So it does actually stand as its own little tiny set, but it doesn't at the same time. So I just can't include it as an actual card set. I'll probably talk about it in inserts. I don't know. I'm not doing inserts yet, so I don't know where that's going to land. So I may get around to it. I hope to, because it is cool. But when you look at these rookie cards, this looks really impressive. I mean, it really is like the next iteration of the 1991 card design. But again, it's an honorable mention. It looks great, better than a lot of the cards that we're going to be looking at, so I had to throw it on here and mention it. But I also couldn't take it too seriously because it's not a main release of cards. These are not actual rookies. So there you go. But as I get into the actual list with number 5, you can see exactly why I've got it there, because at number 5 I have, well, Upper Deck. And the Upper Deck cards they're really well made. They did all the things right, except they didn't stick the landing. That's the only problem that these cards have. But I love all the things that they tried to do. The column on the side, I think, looks really cool. It's really impressive. It's a great concept. It would be problematic because it is too lopsided, and there's something that it needs on the opposite side. But that's not an issue because you don't really see the column because the image isn't very distinct. Very few of these cards actually have distinct images on them. They all kind of run together in surprising ways. And that's where this card is where the real big problem with it is. They didn't do a good job of selecting images, and when they did select them, even you can still play some tricks with the images to make them more distinct, but it's just kind of a muddled mess. The players just kind of blend in. And what's really funny is the fact that they actually do have color saturation on here to heighten all the colors, and the images still just wash out. So this card is just kind of one big blurry affair. It is really nice, it's just really boring. And that's one thing you don't say about the 1991 rookies. The 91 rookies were not great designs. They just don't look very good. But they're very distinct, they're very bold, and that's one thing that the 92 Upper Deck Gold cards have going for them. They really do, in the case of the Upper Deck Gold, they really do look like the proper step up from the 91 designs. The regular 92 rookie cards don't. That's just the way that it is. So very disappointing, but at any rate, that's what we have at number 5. For number 4, I have Skybox Primetime. And Skybox Primetime is basically Skybox Premium. When Skybox jumped into football, they were a set designed around basketball. And so when they jumped into football, they needed to figure out what this football design thing was. And they tried something that had more grid-like qualities, and it just didn't really have much strength. What they needed to do was simplify the cards. Ultimately, they need to do that. A few of the cards in the Primetime set do look pretty good, but most of them don't. They look like a subset. That's really what they look like. But when you get to the rookie cards, this looks right because they look like a subset. I mean, this really is where the whole design seems to all come together. And I will say the one big problem that these cards have is that they are in their college uniforms, except a lot of them are and a lot of them are not. And so a lot of these players actually do come through like pro players. They look right. This makes these cards look a lot better. So if it was just in the college uniforms, I might put this behind Upper Deck, but because a lot of these players are in their pro uniforms, I'm putting it ahead of Upper Deck, so it can go in either direction. Overall, I think these cards actually succeed at looking like good, if not great, at least good rookie cards, which is a lot better than I can say for the veteran cards. So this is where the card set succeeds, which is an interesting thing to say because as I move on to number 3, which is Pacific, the exact same thing applies. I'm not a fan of the 92 Pacific set because the cards they're boring, they're underwhelming. I don't really notice them until I take the time to look at them, and then I realize it's a really nice card with some really strong images. The problem is the design of the card doesn't carry well. It doesn't have strength to pull you in and lock your eyes in, except for the rookies. And the rookies surprise me because they are the part of the card set I always overlook. They did the exact same thing that Score did in 1990, 330 card set, where right at the end of the set, they have a whole bunch of rookies thrown in there that look like rookies, college uniforms. It just doesn't fit with the rest of the set. Except unlike in Score, where those cards also are underwhelming, here in Pacific, they're actually stronger because that strip down the side is distinct. It's strong. It grabs your attention. But more than that, the images for these players tend to be really strong. In 90 with Score, it was just some images thrown up there. Here in 92, they actually have great strength. The images look great for what they are, which is college uniforms. And why is it that these college shots are so much better than virtually every other college shot that we ever see in any of these sets? I think I may know the reason why. But the card set is really built around images, and while the veteran cards aren't very strong and distinct, the college cards are. So the images tend to be stronger in the college cards, and that cranberry strip down the side is stronger and it pulls you in. Ironically, they don't have a lot of stars in this very underwhelming draft class featured in this card set, which again is kind of like Score in Series 1 in 1990, where I think it was only Barry Foster was of note in the Series 1 portion of the set. They waited for the stars to appear in the Series 2 set. Well, here in both series, they don't really have hardly any of the stars in it. And I may know the reason why, because Pacific was really good with images because Michael Kramer, their president, was a photographer. He was actually there at games taking pictures. For Pacific, it was kind of built all around pictures. And there's a good chance that the college shots were taken by these same pro photographers, in which case, one, you would have photographers who are at a higher level taking these pictures and really focusing on what shots they get for their cards. And two, if that is the case, they're still doing the pro games, and so there's a very limited opportunity for them to get shots. I have a feeling that they just didn't get a lot of shots of stars from other conferences to really fill out the range of players they could feature in their set. I don't know, but that would certainly make sense. Regardless, while these are not great cards for rookie cards, they're arguably the strength of the card set. and they do look really good. But if you want a drinking game, just do a drinking game based on how many times I say that I don't like college uniforms, because I'm not a college fan. So to me, I want to see the players in their pro uniforms. That's what I want when I'm going into this. That's what I want to see. And so for fans of college sports, they probably read these a lot better. I don't. That's the only problem that this card has, other than the blocky nature of the design. But regardless, this to me is very clearly number 3, because the jump from 3 up to 2 and 1, the top 2 are in a whole nother conversation. Starting with Pinnacle in football, and well, obviously in football, that's what we're talking about here. But the Pinnacle card set they did it right for the most part, because the Pinnacle design for 1992 is one of the great Pinnacle designs, and really one of the great 90s designs as well. It just looks fantastic, and it's entirely built around action shots. Fortunately, in football, they used action shots for all of their rookies. In baseball, they did it for their prospects, but not their draft pick rookies. But that's because prospects in baseball are college players in football. So all the rookies in football are basically the prospects. That's kind of the way it is. So you have the ability to see them in action shots. The reason you don't get to see that with the draft pick rookies in baseball is because when you're drafted into baseball, you may not even put on a recognizable uniform and hit the plate for quite some time. So we just don't get to see that. Fortunately, in football, they have the ability to do that, so the images look great on these cards. It is pro uniforms and it is action shots. It's everything that you want from these cards on a great card design. The only problem these have is that the shots it's almost like it's rushed. While the veteran pictures were much better selected and they fit much better with the images, the rookie cards are a little bit lacking, probably because they are whatever shots they could get from the preseason. So they do kind of run together. They don't have as strong of a presence as they could have, which is the biggest distinction between that at number 2 and Action Packed at number 1, because Action Packed, they really nailed all of these shots. And I don't know how many of them were necessarily taken from preseason games, how many from training camp, or how they built it, but they did a great job of selecting great images on a card design that, okay, let me pause for a second. When I talked about this card design with the regular veteran cards, I knocked it heavily because of how lacking it was compared to 1991. But the big problem that the 92 card design has is that big band down the side. When you have a 10 card array of players from every single team, it's too much, because you don't get to go from image to image to image with any consistency. But in the rookie cards, you don't have 10 players, you only have 2 or 3, which means you're looking more at the individual card. And when you look at the individual card, 92 Action Packed, while not at the level of 91, is pretty close. They did a better job with images in 92 than they did in 91. And again, if you're looking at it just on its own, that gold band is actually not much of a distraction, which means the rookie cards, which probably have better images than the veteran cards, the rookie cards look so much better as a standalone card, and it is definitely the class of the football designs for 1992 rookie cards. How does this stack up against the other 3 sports in an overall head-to-head of all the best? I don't know. I'm going to look at that next week. But for this week, this is what I've got for the best rookie card designs of 1992 in football. So definitely leave comments down below of your take on all of this. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Check out my other videos. And thank you very much for watching.